Fun and games or life and death? A handful of fraternity members in Ohio are now facing jail time after a hazing tradition turned deadly. A sophomore at Bowling Green University died from alcohol poisoning, the result of a hazing ritual gone wrong. His parents are hoping his death sparks serious change so that other families do not go through the same pain that they have. Here is correspondent Kelly Beeson tonight.
Sherry Foltz recalls the last words she said to her son Stone before he went to a traditional initiation event at Bowling Green State University in 2021. One she says he was not looking forward to from the start.
I joked with him. I said, okay, well, I'm going to ask you around 10. He said, haha, oh, great. And I never called him. So I have that to live with the rest of my life.
After arriving at an off-campus location, each pledging member or little was required to drink about 1 liter of liquor in order to complete the Little Big Night event. Prosecutors say that's when Stone Foltz consumed an entire liter of Evan Williams whiskey and had a blood alcohol level of 0.395. Later that evening, they say he was taken to his apartment and left unconscious by a fraternity member and several others.
Those brothers that said they were going to be there with Stone, who were not. You have to live with that the rest of your life.
When paramedics arrived to his apartment, Foltz's roommate was performing CPR, but Stone was no longer breathing. He died 3 days later after he was put on life support. The coroner ruled his death as fatal intoxication during a hazing event. The case gained national attention, with 5 former members of the Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity, including the past president, all pleading guilty in court to various charges, ranging from reckless homicide to tampering with evidence.
I questioned why you have to drink a lot. He said it's a ritual, I guess. I said, my comment was, well, that's stupid. Doesn't sound like a good frat. And he said, that's how every frat is.
And yesterday in the courtroom, 3 were sentenced to jail time, 2 more to house arrest. Foltz's parents now trying to honor their son's legacy through organ donation. And as thousands of students across the country will rush fraternities and sororities in the fall, they're calling on universities to follow a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to hazing.
Spring pledge is ongoing right now. There could be another case like the Stone Foltz that could happen tonight.
And there have been other cases. Davic Bianchi is a partner at Stewart, Tilghman, Fox, Bianchi, and Kane, and he focuses on hazing cases just like this one. David, it's nice to have you back. Again, under terrible circumstances, though. I want to share with people what the Wood County prosecutor, Paul Dobson, said about the tradition of hazing. He said this fall, there will be thousands of students around the country rushing fraternities and sororities with active members facing the same decisions these defendants made. My question to you, David, are these sentences harsh enough, several of them less than a month, to really change the culture at fraternities?
Well, if you want my opinion, the answer is no. I've been working on these cases all around the country for 30 years. There have been 65 fraternity pledges who have died since the year 2000. If you do the math, that's 1 every 4 months for 22 years. These sentences are not atypical, and I think that's part of the problem. We do not do much of anything to the people that are responsible for these horrible hazing deaths and serious injuries. And it sends all the wrong messages. Can you imagine if you had done something that resulted in the death of someone and you did it with a gun, for example, you wouldn't be sentenced to 21 days in jail or 28 days in jail. You'd go to jail for years. But this is the way it is. And I can tell you that this incident with Stone Foltz is identical to the Andrew Coffey case out of Florida State, which was 4 years ago. And 9 fraternity members went to jail there, and most of them served at least 2 months, not 21 days or 28 days. The Robert Champion case, where he died in a hazing incident, those who were responsible were sentenced to jail for 4 years and 6 years, not 21 days or 28 days. It varies by state, it varies by judge because they have discretion in the sentencing. And it's all over the place, but it really doesn't do anything to stop future conduct.
Well, is part of the problem the fact that the the hazee, in this case, Stone Foltz, willingly drank the alcohol? Is that why it's such a challenge to prosecute these cases, to make it a felony, as his parents are trying to do in Ohio?
Well, let me tell you, it doesn't make any, and I get it, I understand. And that's a lot of people say that, but it doesn't matter whether it's a felony or a misdemeanor, because these fraternity guys who do this, they don't stop in their tracks at midnight and say, oh, this could be a felony, not a misdemeanor, so we're not going to do it. They don't know anything about that, nor do they care. That's only something that comes along later. And most hazing statutes in the United States have a provision that says the consent of the victim is not a defense. So it doesn't matter that they consent or willingly participate, because if you do something that results in their death, the victim is not to blame.
Let's talk about responsibility here and accountability. Is it on the colleges and universities? Obviously on the people carrying out these deadly traditions? Is it on the parents? Who should be held responsible when someone dies?
The guys who do it. You can't expect the universities to babysit these guys 7 nights a week throughout the year. You cannot do it. It's impossible. So no, I don't think it's principally on the university's part. The national fraternities and the universities all have anti-hazing policies. You can't expect the national fraternities to send somebody down there and babysit 7 nights a week. The parents don't want their kids doing this at all. They can't run to the fraternity house every night and make sure it doesn't happen. It's the responsibility is on the guys who did it. And they're old enough to be responsible, but they think they're bulletproof and they just do whatever the heck they want.
And many believe this sentence was just a slap on the wrist. This family lost their son and they will never be the same. David, it makes me sick that we have to keep talking about this and see little change. But I think the more we talk about it, the more it's in the spotlight. I appreciate you coming back on tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.